welcome to Alabama, and of course built on the site of an old airfield, we have the Talladega Super Speedway, host to round 4 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series, the longest track on the calendar, and of course restrictor plate racing is going to come in handy today. Get your teammates behind you and push yourself to the victory, or at least that is what they're trying to do. Myself, Cameron Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me in the commentary box, and Hugo Lees on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast as we hit the high banks and we go racing. We are already getting towards the mid part of the regular part of the season here, and the calendar is certainly going to fly through. We're there on the left hand side, round 4 at Talladega, of course, Kansas, a couple of weeks ago. Was certainly a very interesting one and turned the table around just a little bit. We go to Homestead in a couple of weeks before we work our way all the way across America to Daytona in February, where we'll finish the regular season and have 15 drivers go to the playoffs before we crown our champion in Phoenix, Arizona on the 8th of May 2025. A long way to go and a lot of racing still to come. It is the Import Speedfest 369 by Team Superior, and this is how the championship looks as we come into it. Jesper Eriksson, after a very difficult start to the season, bounces back as he took victory in Kansas, and he jumps up from 12th to 4th place in the standings. But of course the drivers ahead of him, Linus Broström leading the way. He's been very solid, very consistent so far, the same as Marcus Hogman, and of course your Bristol winner Dan Holmer, and plenty of names that you would recognize up there inside the top 10. And it is of course going to stay very close with how crazy it has been. We've had a couple of quiet races so far, the likes of Auto Club, just the one caution, but at Kansas we did get a couple fairly quiet race indeed. I wonder, Ewan, though, how is it going to be today? In theory, this should be a little bit more calm, but as always, the big one is just waiting around the corner.
It always is, yeah. And I think to the start of this race, we're going to see a nice green flag run. At least that's what I hope. And then towards the end, we might well see some more trouble, as we often see on these super speedway circuits. The final 121 laps at Kansas were covered under green flag racing. That's the most laps we've ever had in a green flag run this season. I don't think we'll be replicating that here, not least because we don't even have 121 laps today. It's 86 to the flag for 369 miles, I think it is. Or is it kilometres? I think it's kilometres, isn't it, at that distance. As you say, the longest oval we have on our calendar.
Absolutely, yes, 369 Ks here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We got a stage on lap 35. Fuel is 33 laps if you're leading, but of course there'll be plenty of cars in the pack behind, so I'm sure some drivers will be trying to get those extra stage points. But as ever, we do stay green at the stage, so you can get your points and then go straight into the pit lane and get your fuel topped back up. But of course, yeah, qualifying just coming to a finish. And it is it's quite interesting, actually, some of the results. We'll get to that in just a few moments. Once again, a very stacked field, and today we're really looking for teammates to find themselves together and using the draft. So on your pole position is the Morby Bright Esports driver, your championship leader, the 71 of Linus Broström, with Eric Lundberg alongside him. Dominic Savicki, a teammate of Broström, will be pushing him from the second row, with Oscar Fredriksson there in 4th place. Alex Aronson is in 5th, and Anton Brattberg coming from 6th place. And of course, Team Superior are your sponsors for today's race, the Import Speedfest 369, so look out for them. And Connie Lundell, he's another one of their drivers there in 7th place. Oliver Wallen is in 8th, and Kenneth Tier, Nikas Helm, Augustin and Marcus Hogman there in 12th place. Hogman, the number 12 in P12. Hogström is in 13th place, and Dan Holmer in 14th. Helmbro and Jesper Eriksson down in 16th place, but just look how close these lap times are. Of course, just a few thousandths changing these positions. Alto and Pfeffer round out your top 18 drivers. Pebbles and Uvelin inside your top 20, then Motin, Wildebar inside your top 22, Dahlstrand and Robert Eriksson there for Superior as well in P24. Tuominen and Tidemo round out your top 26, with Kinnell and Broström, Håkenschott and Christian Gantz round out your top 30. Then your final drivers at the back of the field are Stiller, Nordgren and Forshall, who will be pushing everyone forward, of course, at the start of this race. It is going to be a very much a tactical one, where you have to find the drivers around you, find your friends, and hopefully help each other to the front.
Yeah, it was about that in practice. I was watching a little bit. They were practicing that a little bit, you know, getting teammates together, seeing where you can push, seeing where you can't, and seeing how that's all going to work throughout the day. As you say, stage on lap 35, but there won't be a caution. They're very, very crafty indeed. 33 laps on fuel if indeed you're leading. However, it was an important distinction to make. If you're leading, I reckon in the pack you could easily make it to 35 laps.
Oh, definitely, especially if you're multiple cars back. You're not going to be full throttle for quite a long time around here as the pace truck pulls away, and the 71 will take them for the pace lap. 2.66 miles, massive track around here. And what are the conditions today? Mostly cloudy, 2 p.m. in the afternoon on the 7th of April. We are simulating in the game today, so that is some fairly standard conditions. And let's see if this is going to work out very nicely for Linus Broström, because of course the one major point really for him over the course of last season as well is he's always up towards the front, but he has not got a race victory yet, and it did take him quite a while before we saw that. So I wonder, Ewan, if he's going to be able to take victory today, because he always tries something a bit different on the strategy, but it hasn't worked out just yet.
It's going to be interesting. I think in terms of making it to the playoffs, where he is right now is very comfortable in terms of making the playoffs. So even if 15 different drivers win and he's not, 14 different drivers win the 14 rounds and he's not one of them, he's still got the most points of those who haven't won yet. So he is in a good position as far as that's concerned. But he will certainly be wanting to take a race win at some point, and he does know how to do it. I think it's just a matter of time. Today is going to be less about that. It's going to be about being in the right place at the right time. Don't want to call it luck, because it's certainly not luck. There is a knack to driving around here. There's a knack to staying out of trouble. There is a good way to push and a bad way to push. So it's not luck around here, but there is a certain amount of fortune that goes with winning and avoiding the crashes for sure.
And if we look to last season at Talladega, Jesper Eriksson took victory from Fredriksson. Of course, they were teammates on that day. Then we had a host of the Alcantech cars in behind. They tried something on the strategy, but in the end, just missing out with that one. Let's see what happens, though, as we are going to go racing for the 4th time this season. It's the Import Speedfest 369 by Team Superior, but it is the 71 Morby Bright Esports driver of Linus Broström who will take us to the green flag as we go racing here at the Talladega Super Speedway in Alabama, and it is certainly going to be a tough one to predict where we're going to see the finish. We get to the restart zone, and then the green flag will drop, and the 71 takes us underway, and it's a nice clean start for everyone as they push themselves. Look at the 6 pushing his teammate up towards the front.
Already a sight as to what we're going to see at the front of the field. Dominic Sawicki pushing Linus Broström to the lead, and to a single file lead as well. Some word from pit lane, by the way. Magnus Hogman, 2-time stage winner so far in this season, has had to start from pit lane, and he'll be at the back already in danger of falling a lap down.
And if you lose the draft here, that's going to be a big problem. So look for everyone trying to keep in this top pack. We're staying side by side for now, but don't be shocked if we do see some drivers try to go 3 wide. I don't think we're going to see any 4 wide like we saw in the real life last week, but who knows? We'll find out a little bit later on. It's certainly working down to be a single file train for the top 5, top 6 cars so far, as Broström leads across the line for the first time. But actually, you have to remember, the finish line is, of course, way after the tri-oval, which is a big note for drafting to the finish.
We've already got a group of 3 off the back as well here. Christian Gantz, Fredrik Fossel and Pontus Nordgren have all decided that it's safer back there, just drafting the 3 of them, and they have decided to stick around at the very back of the pack instead of trying to battle up with these guys. And you can maybe see a little bit why with the action we're going to see there. Zone 3, it looks like it's coordinated for those guys.
Yeah, when you see the teammates working together, it definitely is more planned than the fact that they are just trying to find that. But we do have this second line, which is being led, of course, by one of the Team Superior cars, the 111 of Bratberg. Can we get a Team Superior car to the front, to the lead of their own race? We'll certainly find out on the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, of course, sponsoring the Import Speedfest 369 here this evening, and it looks like they're immediately going to lead the second lap of the race. Great pushing from Oliver Wallin to give Bratberg in the 111 the lead over lap 2.
Yeah, great stuff. Obviously, all the teams, having the opportunity to sponsor a race and get themselves involved. A great community here. We have the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, and plenty of the teams getting involved with that over the course of the season. And this is a great one to see the 111 leading the way. Of course, he is side by side with Brewstrom as both lines try to work out exactly the distance they need to be behind to push towards the front. And as much as you do want to help your teammates, you've also just got to look at the car ahead of you and how you are going to get up. Because if you're 5th, 6th in line, you can't just drive around them. So you have to work together as a pack to get yourself up to the front.
Thomas Cannell at the back, by the way, has also decided that this is not worth the candle just for the moment and decided to pull off the very back of the field. And there he is in the number 14, just waiting to be swept up by the other 3 who have just got themselves off the back at the moment. Just a couple of statistics for you, by the way, here, while they are drag racing one another here at the start of this race. If we go green for the first 11 laps of this race, it will be the longest green flag run in terms of kilometres this season. If you count the final 121 laps at Kansas and the first 11 of this race, it would be the longest green flag run of this season. And once we complete the 21st lap of this race, we will have completed 1,000 kilometres this season.
God, the stats are certainly racking up already after just 3 races and 4 laps so far. Great stuff. As just on that outside line, just a bit of a trio getting away. There's Helm in the 55, but I'm sure if they just lift off, everyone will catch up back behind. Everyone moving around a little bit. That's a bit too much. You've got to be careful to keep in line, not make any contact, but the 72 certainly getting almost a full car's width outside of the line of the 111.
Yeah, and getting a little bit loose as well. That's the one notable thing, I think, from watching next-gen racing this week at Talladega and last week, compared to the Xfinity cars, these don't look quite as planted to the road. Some drivers actually in iRacing complaining the next-gen cars are too planted and you can push a little bit too much. These are certainly in the opposite direction to that. They are loose on occasion, and Bohlin is already being aggressive with the pushing here on Bratberg, who might be feeling a little bit wary about this right now because he's not under any control over how much he's being pushed and where. But Bohlin is making some big moves here and getting quite loose. And there you see it again. They're getting pretty dangerous for this early on in the race.
And that's one big difference I find you see between oval racing on the sim and oval racing in real life is the cars just move around quite a lot more. In real life, they just seem to stay planted to their line. And of course, that is down to the obviously the talent of the drivers, but also there must just be something maybe with the internet and how it works. The cars always just wiggle around a little bit, and you have to be very, very careful with how you get the contact. Too much of that front to rear contact to the corner of a car, and of course you will spin them around. His Helm there goes to the bottom, comes back up before losing the slipstream, but now it's 2 at the front of that outside line.
Yeah, it's a bit silly really, because he'll get side drafted and he will lose the back of the 72, which means there's no energy now on the top line. The low line will have all the momentum now, and you can see Bratberg just slipping further and further down. He's now 4th. Lundberg has gotten through him. Now Helm's going to get back to him again, and they can start regaining some energy up top now, but the top 3 will certainly get away on the low side, and Helm would probably be best advised not to do that again.
Yeah, one thing I love about this style of racing is, of course, this isn't like massive overtakes left and right like you may see on a road course, or maybe even diving it down the inside like you see on a short track oval, but the lines they change so quickly. In the matter of one corner, as you say, they can lose all the energy, or they can get the massive push and then come out ahead. So it's very, very interesting how it works, and you just have to really be on it. Of course, I'm sure a lot of these drivers will have obviously the spotter going. They'll have hopefully some people helping them along with the gaps between the cars, trying to push themselves. But we have 3 Bright Esports down leading on that bottom row, and looks like Brewstrom is looking fairly comfortable with the 6 of Savicki in behind as we come across to complete lap 7.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to overcome 3 of the same team on the bottom line there. It is always a bit of an ordeal going around the outside, so it could be tricky to displace those guys on the bottom, but of course this race is long, and so it will be it will change a fair amount throughout the day, I would expect, as they make their way out of turn number 2. Wonder what stage we're going to start seeing 3 wide, if at all, because these cars already do look like they're moving around quite a lot. I'm not even sure if there's space for 3 without there being a bit of contact and a bit of a crash. So that will be reserved for the final 20 laps or so, I would expect, if we get there at all.
Absolutely. Just looking at Team Superior where they were last season, so Bratberg He finished last, unfortunately. He was running at the end, but he was 7 laps down and last. Now he's up towards the front. Even Oliver Bohlin, 72 for Bright Esports, the car pushing him as we get Brett Berg come down to the low line. That's quite an important potential factor of how this race is going to go. And now the 72 there on the outside line, he was also quite a few laps down towards the back of the field. But now they're up running towards the front as the 111 is looking very strong. I don't think Royston will be too worried about that at this time, but certainly an interesting choice for the 111 to go down to the bottom.
What a great start for Team Superior to sort of be in amongst the Bright Esports drivers here. I think he was trying to circumvent the fact that Bohlin would have wanted to get down with his teammates there on the low line. And so by getting down there himself, Brett Berg, he's prevented Bright Esports from getting together here just for the moment. Anyway, now he just needs his teammates to get up with him now, Brett Berg. We were handed a note, by the way, by Linus Broström before this race about their record around Talladega. 4 seasons ago, Team Superior managed to finish 1st, 2nd, 4th and 5th. They'll do very well to repeat that feat here today.
Yeah, they certainly would be a bit difficult. You can see them very easily actually in their sort of yellow-orange car as you look a bit further down the pack as well. So hopefully they can try and find themselves together. That's one thing. We do have a couple of Sim Race Sweden cars all close together, so definitely it's a track where you want to find your teammates, but it's not like you can just choose that, especially with qualifying being so close. You can't predict the order that you are going to be, unfortunately, as we're here on lap 10, and it is working along very nicely indeed. Of course, it stays very calm. The second someone starts to get loose, that is when we might see a car in the wall and the pace car come out.
Magnus Högman, by the way, is being caught here at a rapid rate of knots. He's already 42 seconds off the front of the race. The lap times are around 51.5 seconds at the moment. So expect to see that soon, as there's a big block from Bohlin, who gets to the inside. Broström there, I think, was just following him, really, as they all try and get past Brett Berg. Helm goes up high with 3 wide for the first time. He's going backwards.
Yeah, that is not the ideal for Helm. He's going to be losing so many places as everyone with the draft comes along. And I wonder, is that purely him not being able to get down, or does he want to go to the back of the line? As we see 3 wide in towards turn 3, the 71, 72 side by side, the 6 and the 24 take the lead. Is this Bright Esports trying to work themselves into a 1, 2, 3, 4 situation? Brad Berg's being pushed back, and now we have the 2 Sim Race Sweden cars coming on that outside line. This is working well as we have Ericsson there pushing his teammate Holmer.
It could be the Bright Esports drivers trying to work together, but why would they leave Broström stuck in the vacuum in the middle there on his own? I'm not entirely sure. Now he's going to go backwards here very quickly as Sawicki leads the 11th lap. This is officially the longest green flag run now of the season without, or the longest run without a caution, with 11 laps completed here at Talladega. Broström holding his own pretty well actually on the middle line. Surprised though, he's been left out to dry by his teammates so much.
Yeah, he needs to try and get in that gap either ahead or behind Brett Berg, but actually we do have the line following him, so it's now the 2 Sim Race Sweden cars who are going to get left out to dry. Can the 200 car of Pfeffer push the 71 back? No, they move up and leave him out. The aero games are so fun around here, and it's very difficult if you get stuck in that situation. At some point he's going to have to come down, and now he finally does. Whoa. It's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, but we'll have to see how this one works out.
Here goes Tony Uvinen. He was going to follow Broström there, but now he's been left out to dry on his own. So Tony Uvinen in the black is coming through. Dominic Sawicki now pulls to the middle as well, as Broström has a look to the inside. Now he goes to the middle line. Aronson blocks through the middle line as well. He's got 3 lines to take care of as they go in towards turn 1 and 2. I mentioned how long is it going to take for 3 wide racing to really commence? Well, not that long as it turns out. We're 3 wide now, just 13 laps in.
This is amazing play by Bright Esports. They're trying to get the 4 cars in a line. They've had to work the long way around. Bohlin is going to let them in, and now they finally do. But Uvinen might break it. Yes, he does. They can't get the 4 cars in a line, and somehow they're all still going, because that was getting sketchy for a half a lap there. But there's all of a sudden gone back very calm indeed. The 200 of Pfeffer is now going to go to the outside line, and look at all the Sim Race Sweden cars actually on that outside line. They've worked themselves together. So we've got Morby Bright Esports down low. We've got Sim Race Sweden up on the high line, and a few other teams trying to get involved.
Yes, teamwork's so important at Talladega. It's so much more than just mashing the throttle and turning left twice a lap. It is tactical. It is teamwork that's required to win round here. I think Bright Esports, to be honest, were trying a bit too hard to get all their ducks in a row there, really, on the low side. What they've allowed, effectively, is a period of quiet where Sim Race Sweden have been able to get organised, and now look at them go. Daniel Holmer on the outside is going to take the lead.
Certainly is. This is working so well for the two teammates. Got the 79 and the 37 pushing each other. Look at their three sister teammates up in behind as well. This is working out so good for Sim Race Sweden. RaceSpot's, of course, still in a strong place with 4 cars out of the 5 on that bottom row. But certainly, when you have 5 teammates in a row, that is pretty crazy indeed. Marcus Hogman there in the 12, second place in the championship. He's about to go a lap down here, though, and that is going to be very difficult to recover from.
And he's going to stay low. This could really hurt Bright Esports. They can't go up. 24 trying to, Eracingligan trying to squeeze, but no. And here comes the stack up. They've got to be careful of this now. Eracingligan pushes Hogman, and the other teammates decide to go round. Who's going to abandon the Bright Esports train and who's going to stay with it? It looks like most of them have stayed with it, but Broström did the right thing, in my opinion, and just abandoned the train.
He's going to get lost, though, because the 5 Sim Race Sweden cars block him out. He's stuck in the middle. He's going to have to come down. Can he get all the contact? Can he get ahead of Marcus Hogman? Not quite. There's not enough space. Contact is made. Hogman goes to the inside with Eracingligan. They keep it straight. We should stay on the green flag. But no, in the background, there is more contact. And now here comes a big one coming into a turn 1. Hook and shot involved as everyone slows down. This will be the first caution of the day as we come across to start lap 16.
The first crash of the day, and it was coming ever since the lap car got involved there, Hogman. Normally, it's expected that the lap drivers go up high there or go down low, depending on where the others are. But on that occasion, I think Hogman would have, if he'd have been doing the nice thing, he would have gone up high. But he decided he wanted to be part of the train, which I understand, of course. And it did cause a ripple effect, really, down the field that eventually resulted in that crash. And many look like they're involved.
Yes, it was a bit awkward what he did, but at the same time, it's also the decisions that everyone else makes, and they were so desperate to try and keep that train. It's just a shame for Broström that when he tried to come down off 4, there wasn't enough space to drop in. And so let's see this again. So this is Pfeffer in the 200. So there's Broström. He probably should have dropped down already there, but he didn't get down low enough. And then by the time he did, Hogman was there. Then it got awkward. A bit of a... Oh, that was Wildeboer, actually. Wildeboer did come down on Broström there, which is ultimately what caused that contact. Then the issue is... as they all rejoined and everyone sort of checks up a little bit in behind. Obviously, we didn't quite see the contact from that angle, but everyone, just has to slow down.
So there's a separate incident here. There is that one that you mentioned there, Broström. He gets hit a bit twice there, effectively, by Wildeboer there. And then so they recover from this okay, but it's the stack up. There's initially Uvenen getting turned by one of the Bright Esports drivers. They get in the wall, but they keep it straight as well. There goes one of the Team Superior cars going slowly. And then up ahead, there's a third incident. So it's a real knock-on effect. It's all in live pictures, by the way. Everyone's coming in. They want to make it to the stage without having to stop again.
And also they can do the rest of the race from one stop after this as well, should we stay green. So definitely a good lap to pit, as we're seeing, of course, continuation of the replays. Very tough one. Very lucky for Linus Broström there to continue on without being involved in that wreck. Bit of a shame for the 84. It was Oliver Bohlin, the 72, for the Molby Bright Esports team. Just a bit of contact there, but because obviously everyone checks up and slows down at slightly different rates, and very difficult to judge the situation. Of course, no one slams on the brakes, but still lifting off the throttle, there's a lot of deceleration at that point. As at the 71, he's having a longer stop there, so he's going to go way back to the back of the line.
Yeah, there's going to be a number of longer stops here made. Patrick Pfeffer is making one, Tony Uvenen as well, Oscar Motin, Robert Eriksson making a longer stop. So Linus Broström made an extra longer stop as well, 28 seconds in the box for him. So plenty of longer stops, and that's just longer, by the way, than a 4 tyre stop. Some have only taken 2.
Absolutely. So let's see this once more. So we're already 3 wide further back. This is Håkansson. This is the 101 car. There's the 84 getting turned. I think it's Rob Eriksson involved, and then just a bit of contact as that is an awkward bit. The 200 was involved there as well. Then one of his teammates didn't quite see which one it was. So not the ideal situation. It just got too close there. It looks like, Ewan, I think 3 wide is just not really possible around here. It just gets a bit too awkward.
I think we're going to see 3 wide again.
Of course.
Towards the end of the race, I do, because I think it is possible, but there is a certain time limit to it. I think that the issue there was the lap traffic. That stacking up on the inside like that is never a great idea. I mean, in fairness, the guys who were already on the low side didn't have anywhere to go, so they can't be blamed for what they did. But it does create a big stack-up effect. It does mean that that something like that is more likely to happen, and unfortunately, that is the consequence. On this occasion, it looks like almost everybody's got away with it. Robert Ericsson seems to have been the most damaged, though he's still in pit lane right now. But other than that, everybody's back on the lead lap and seems to be running okay.
Yeah, so looking at how we stand at the front, so we've ended up with Aukson, Aronson, Wildeber, Auto, and Savicki, your top 5. They've all taken 2 tyres. Ericsson, who dropped down a bit further now to 6th place, he has taken 4. Then all the cars in behind him, the next 4 have all taken 2 tyres. Then Tuominen, who's in 11th place, has taken 4. So it's a bit interesting, the differences that we've seen. But stages are lap 35. We got pretty much to half of that distance already under green flag racing. So if we do that again, we will get to the stage. And if we stay green now to the end of the race, everyone should be able to do so with one more stop somewhere around lap 50 or just after.
I think that is going to be correct. Yes, I think so. It's going to be quite tight. So if it is a long green flag run, then it is going to be a case of almost everybody coming in all at once. However, it is going to be, I think they're just about going to make it here. So that's ideal for everybody. But let's see if we even get that long green flag run. I personally hope so, because I think green flag pit stops at plate racing circuits are some of the most exciting over racing you can have. The rejoin and figuring out who's made the front group and all of that, I think is very exciting. But we'll see if it happens this time round.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are you going to push on that pit exit? But we'll see when we get there, because of course we need to get 35 laps really of green flag racing to see a pit stop. And as we come around side by side, we'll be getting back racing once more. Of course, this is the Import Speedfest 369 by Team Superior. They had the 111 car of Bratberg leading the race. He's now dropped back. You see he's the orange car, 4th in line on that outside. And we are stacking back up to get back to green flag racing once more, as the pace truck will come in. You've got Aukson and Aronson on that front row. You've got quite a few Sim Race Sweden cars up towards the front. Of course, you've got the likes of Linus Brustrom, who was up towards the front, but he's dropped way down the field now, and he's going to have to try and come back from 22nd place. We come across the tri-oval, and the 086 will get us back going once more here on lap 18 of 86 laps, as round 4 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan gets underway once more, and it's a good start and a good thing for him. He's got the 321 of his teammate in behind, although there's some big gaps in the field there.
There is. I think the 24 is going to be hung out to dry a little bit here on the outside line, although he's trying to side draft Wildeber as much as possible. The push is going to eventually come here on the outside. It's a bit of a sluggish start, I'm afraid, for Jesper Ericsson, the last round winner, but now he's getting there. Now he's getting to the back of, is that Alto on the outside line? I think it is, and now they're beginning to get to Aronson, who's getting the push.
Absolutely, and look at that, he was a couple of car lengths behind, and now he's going to be going into turn 3 in the lead, but he's lost the push from behind. Sim Race Sweden might try and work this to get their 4 cars in a line, but it might work because then you've got 2 Bright Esports down on the bottom line, so you can certainly play the team play game, as lap 19 is obviously coming to an end. We're going to lap 20 here. Who is going to lead across the stripe? It might just be the 24. He's trying to come down, as he of course is in a little bit of an awkward situation with the non-teammates behind him, and he is going to get down to that low line, so we might see the Sim Race Sweden cars come up high. Everyone moving around a little bit though through turn 1.
I think Wildeber there trying to let Alto in, but couldn't quite do it. Now what do the others do here for Sim Race Sweden? They're 3 wide in the background again. I told you we'd see it again. Up on the outside
line. Yeah, Linus Brustrom making it 3 wide, 22nd place on the restart. He's being pushed to the lead. Can't see who's pushing him, but this might work. And he's at least got himself way back inside the top 10. Amazing stuff there. What a run from the 71. He's found the 49 in behind him. That's Kenneth Tier, and they've worked that perfectly. We didn't say we weren't going to get 3 wide for very long, but I think this might actually work for them.
Yeah, maybe the impending stage break coming up, obviously it's not a break, but the stage points coming up might be just a factor in their mind as Brostrom goes over the line. Might have been leading there. We're 4 wide here into 1. This is not going to work, surely. Aronson stuck 2nd from bottom. He's so close to Alto. He's so close to the low line as well, and we survive. Goodness me, they won't want to do that again.
This is amazing racing here on the restart at Talladega. Which line do you want to be in? Is the 71 going to try and come down? Well, surely he wants to keep Kenneth Tier in behind him. They're working so well together as we come here into turn 3. So they're coming down actually to the midline now. So they've left the two Sim Race Sweden cars up on the outside line. That's the 37 of Ericsson and Fredriksson, his teammate, in behind. But look at all the slipstream games trying to work out where the best line is. Sim Race Sweden go high, though, as they try and hold on to that lead.
I think some of these team games are getting a little bit dangerous already, the way they're trying to get themselves into line here. You see Sim Race Sweden all in the line on the very outside and the very inside, but they're not really going anywhere at the moment. Team Superior are having a bit of a good run through the middle here. Can't see which two of their drivers it is coming through the middle at the moment, but they're trying to make some headway after getting together. I think that you're much more likely to succeed, personally, if you get just two of you together, as we just saw with Brostrom and Tier. If you get two teammates together, like Team Superior have done in the middle there, and you push one another really hard to the front, then it can work a lot better than getting, 7 of your ducks in a row and falling over each other.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the 71, he got a solo push from Kenneth Tier. They went from 22nd to the lead. So it's certainly possible with just two cars. And as you say, when you get more cars involved, there's just too many variables as everyone wiggles around a little bit here to finish lap 22. And that is just remarkable from the 71. I mean, I love to see, just how he was able to do that on that restart. It literally just took a couple of laps for them to get back to the front. Amazing stuff there. We're still staying 3 wide, though, as we have Ericsson on that outside line trying to be pushed. This middle line, they came up a little bit high there, maybe trying to block that one off, but it is a little bit awkward now as they're continuing 3 wide for a while, but they are keeping it clean. Unfortunately, we have the white lines and the 3 lanes for them to keep a track of.
Yeah, almost like you do on the motorway, just making sure you don't drift over into anybody else or into anyone else's lane. Got a concern, by the way, about what's going to happen up ahead here, because Daniel Holmer is not too far up ahead of them here, and where's he going to fit into all of this? Because he's going to be lapped, that's for sure. He's on his own, but where is he going to go? He can't disappear. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens to him when he's swept up by the traffic here. Not sure why, but he came in 3 laps after everybody else, which suggests he came in on the lap of the restart for some reason, but it was only for a 1.9 second stop.
Yeah, so some guys trying some things differently, and one thing obviously to point out, Kenneth Tier, of course, is part of Bright Esports, so he's sort of Savicki's teammate in terms of the championship, so the purple and the red machines, and he got the 2 Morby Bright Esports of the 24 of Aracingligan and then the 71 of Brostrom, and now you've got Oliver Bohlin on the back as well, so 5 Bright Esports in a row in that midline as they're all getting a bit close, wiggling around. They're trying to go low, they're trying to go high, trying to block off the Sim Race Sweden cars who are either side of them.
Yeah, it's still absolutely 3 wide. I'm not sure why these guys are persisting with the middle when they could just come to the bottom here. At least 3 or so of them could, but maybe they don't want to abandon their mates up in the middle, which could get a little bit dangerous. As they go over the line again, Brostrom leads another lap. Going to be interesting to see who has led the most laps today, or indeed who gets them, how many get laps, because it's been so changeable at the front of the race. I'm sure there'll be plenty of them who will lay a claim to at least one of the 86 laps.
Absolutely, as there's the webcam of Kenneth Tier as he currently technically runs in 2nd place. Half a car width up there was the 71, maybe just trying to judge the gaps between them as they work their way through 3 and 4. The 86 has had a good run on the bottom line there, but look how everyone just sort of closed up. There's Helm in the 55, who of course jumped to the back during that first stint as we get very close, coming off 4 there, and across the line we come. Lap 25 being completed, so 10 to go for the first stage.
Yeah, not long now until stage points are awarded for the 3rd time this season. The most stage points have been awarded so far to Magnus Hogman, who's managed to win 2 of them out of 3 so far, and he's managed to pick up 24 points out of a possible 30 in the first 3 rounds. That's a very good return from him in the opening round. That's about 80% of possible points he's picked up so far this season in terms of the stage, so he's been doing very well on that front. We'll see where he can get to this time round, going from 1 lap down earlier on to now looking at stage points here, very possibly in these final 10 laps of the stage.
Yes, he was that sort of teal colour car. He's on the low line, about 7 back. So he's actually in a very good place, as you mentioned. He's got the lead lap back and he's looking good. So the sort of the rejoin in front of the leaders actually helped him really with that caution and how it's worked out. But you know, that's how this style of racing goes. And talking of that, we have another car on that low line, and I believe it's the Sim Race Sweden cars. The 55 gets a tyre below the yellow line, but it looks like they're okay. Yeah, there's definitely a car up ahead there. Trying to work out who there is. I think it's Dan Homer. So Homer's dropped, but he goes left and doesn't cause any issues, but surely he's going to try and come up with his teammates.
Yeah, well done. That's quite smart. He might lose the draft again by doing that, but he's done the least annoying for everyone else thing by just getting out of the way, and he's staying on the apron. He will lose the draft again, I'm pretty sure. So he's got to be wary of that as the top line goes nowhere off of 3 and 4. A big slide, I think, on the outside from who's leading the lineup there? Is it Ericsson? I think it is, and didn't get a very good run off 4 at all. He's had to get a big push there from Fredriksson, who's the first time we've seen him in the top 10 today, and they've done just about that to rescue the top line, but that wasn't a very good run off of 4, and that's the danger of running up highest.
Oh, absolutely. There's no room for margin for error at all on that outside line, but it's working. They've been there for about 5 laps now, and everyone seems to have settled down, at least for now. They're just waiting for the final couple laps, I'm sure, of the stage, which, just a reminder, is lap 35, but we stay green flag racing in this series. And of course, with the pit stops being made 10-12 laps ago now, we still have plenty of fuel to keep on going into the mid part of this Import Speedfest 369 by Team Superior, who are currently not in quite as strong position as they were. We've got things Bratberg down the high line, about 5 cars back. Zviki there coming through the tri-oval, just getting a little bit of wiggle. It's to the inside. We get the 71 and the 49. So now there's a crash though. Is that the 321 of Wildebauer? He goes down below the apron. Has he saved that and collected? I think we're good because we stay green flag.
Everyone scatters behind. There's going to be a breakaway group at the front here by the looks of things, because everyone who saw that will have slowed down. And look at that in the background. They all will lose the draft here, but they might be quite pleased about it. They might avoid a big crash as a result. As you can see, though, the bottom line went absolutely nowhere. Everybody on the bottom will have seen that happening, lifted off, and that means the energy has completely gone out the group, and so they're nowhere. Let's have another look at it. It all started, I think, with Brostrom coming down low. The concertina effect goes down the train, and they say Wildebauer gets shoved around. He does a very good job to save it, and so does everybody else. We stay green.
Oh wow, what a slide there coming through turn 2, and as you say, able to save it. So yeah, the 49 and the 71, they came down to that low line to cover off the energy from that inside line, and they obviously just stacked up a little bit for the Sim Race Sweden cars. Crazy stuff there. We've stacked up once again though towards the front. Everyone sort of closed up those gaps, and look how many cars are on your screen. That's why the tower is going all over the place, because the cars are swapping positions very, very frequently. So what we've got is we've got 2 lines. We've got the low and the mid line with the Bright Esports there. The top 3 in the mid line, the top 2 on the low line. Then we've got Sim Race Sweden up high. Very, very difficult to judge. If we stay like this towards the line, I'm sure people start moving around. But if we get to the line at the stage break, there could be a little bit of carnage.
They could. We have about 1/3 less cars in the front group than we used to have, by the way. The top 21 have managed to get away here, and then there's a group of about 8 who are, or 7 or 8 now, running off the back of these guys, just running on their own now. And big names include the likes of Hagström, who's at the very back, Magnus Hagman as well, the stage winner of 2 races, 2 rounds so far, down the back of the field. He won't be winning another stage. He won't be picking up any more points for the first time this season. He'll be outside the top 10 at the stage by the looks of things.
Yeah, this is crazy stuff at Talladega, lap 31. So 4 remain after this one, just over 10 miles to the end of the first stage. We've got 10 points going to the winner, and then 1 in P10. But look how many cars are on your screen. That could change very, very quickly. Who gets those points? And of course, they'll be very important to add to the driver's total as the season progresses, and to those especially who go off to the playoffs. Across the line that time, I think Ericsson just got the lead, but you never know how that one is going to work. We are getting a little bit loose there from the 49. He comes up high towards his teammate, who collects it up.
And with 4 to go till the stage, a caution now would be a caution to the end of the stage, so that's something to watch out for here. A caution would end the stage at this moment, and where you are right now would be where you finish the opening stage, and indeed the only stage that we have at the start of this race. So it's go time now. If you really want these 10 points, it's time to move.
Indeed, and look at the bottom two rows. Ericsson led across the stripe last time. Now he's about 4 car lengths back as they try and wiggle their way through, but then they get the push coming through the tri-oval as the energy just moves around. This middle line has only got 4 cars now. I wonder how that is going to affect, but then once again, the 37 comes to the front, so it does look very good. They lose out seemingly through turns 3 and 4, but they come very good as they come across the line. As we're now on to lap 33. They're all staying a little bit more calm now. No one's really going for any major moves, but I think Bright Esports definitely want to make sure one of their boys at the front there is going to take this stage victory.
I've just had a thought here, Cam, about how on earth we're going to work all this out at Daytona around 14 when everyone's working out for playoff play on points and stuff. We are going to have a nightmare on the 27th of February when we're having the final regular season race here at Daytona. Well, not here, but at Daytona. It's going to feel a very similar race to this one as we approach 2 laps to go in the opening stage.
Yeah, fortunately, most drivers by that point will be confirmed in the playoff, and hopefully it should be just a couple of drivers to focus on, but definitely a tough one indeed as we get to another lap and another lapped car up ahead. Lap 34, so 5 miles remain on this stage, and how is this car up ahead of them going to affect it? We've got the 71 and the 24 leading the bottom lines. We've got the 37 up high, and actually is one of the Team Superior cars, all a little bit loose there for the 24 as the 6 tried to push him, but he manages to hold on to it.
Yeah, not entirely sure who that was. Apologies, but one of the superior cars, as you say, pulling off to the left-hand side there and doing the right thing again to stay out the way. We're going to get the white flag proverbially on the stage here at the end of lap 34. It's a good run for the low line here. And as we get towards the end of the stage, the very high line, the third line up top, have gone backwards. They're going to need a big resurgence in these final 2.5 miles if they're going to get some stage points.
Yeah, this is a big one. So Ericsson led across the line there. Who is going to lead after 2.5 more miles as they work their way around this Talladega Super Speedway? It's been a very interesting first stage. We had the pit stop halfway through due to a caution, which was actually brought out by the 71 being involved. He went basically to the back of the pack, and then he got his teammate Ken Latier to push him, and he's been there ever since. That 49 for Bright Esports. But as we come through 3 and 4, it is the run off this that is going to determine the stage winner. 10 extra points, but look how many cars are in behind. There's about 20 cars on the picture, all trying to get the top 10 positions through the tri-oval. We are going to come, and it's surely going to be one of the Bright Esports cars, or can there be a push up from the high line? It looks like it's a 24, but as he come off the tri-oval, can he hold there? It is going to be a photo finish for the stage victory, and you know what? It might just be Jesper Ericsson who took that on the outside line, and all the positions in behind. Brewster might have ended up in 5th place there, despite being in the lead of that low line. Crazy stuff, but I believe it was Ericsson who took the stage. We continue green flag racing.
We're going to have to get another look at that from the starter stand, if you like, because it was either Ericsson or Aronson, 2 of the race winners we've had so far. Ericsson, of course, winning 2 weeks ago at Kansas. Aronson winning in Auto Club Speedway. They both win in similar fashions, actually, in long green flag runs. They were going absolutely nose to nose there for the stage points as well. Neither of them have had a stage win so far this season, so that would be their first. We've got a new stage winner for the season, but not sure who it was. And by the way, on the very low side, Nicholas Helm is in the number 55. He was outside the top 10 at the stage points there, I believe, and so he remains the highest placed driver in points without any stage points, despite the fact he's knocking on the door of a top 10 overall in points.
And he's run towards the front in basically every race, but he has been involved in a few incidents which I guess have pushed him back, which is not ideal. But the 55, he is, I think, one to watch, you, and a bit later in this season. I think he's going to come good and get some good results.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just bizarre for someone so prominent and so quick to have no stage points at this stage in the season. I know we're only 3 rounds in and now 4 stages in, if you like. But there you go. That's the photo. I mean, I can't even tell from the still picture, to be honest with you.
I think Ericsson's a little bit ahead. If you look where the bottom of his front bumper is, the splitter is just ahead of like the white line, whereas Ericsson's is maybe just slightly further behind. I do think it was Ericsson as we're getting Bright Esports to the front of all 3 lines. Amazing stuff. The 24 goes high to block off Simray Sweden. The 6 now leads the midline. This is Bright Esports trying to control the race. As we come to the mid part, halfway is actually not too far around the corner. The 86 here for the Import Speedfest 369, and it is of course sponsored by Team Superior, but it's Bright Esports up front.
It's not a bad idea because, you know, they'll be leading as a team, whoever's at the front of the field, but they abandon that pretty quickly. The only disadvantage, of course, is that they don't get to save any fuel, which I think could be a little bit crucial over the course of this race. I think making it on one stop from the caution is relatively tight, and if you're going to lead the entire rest of the race from that caution point, you could be struggling for fuel by the end.
And Aronsson's been left out to dry here. The low line lost all the energy, and now Linus Broström, he's backed out of that. He's gone up to the midline, and now we're going to go back to 2x2 racing. And actually, the 71, I think, oh, sorry, the 72. No, it is the 71, sorry, Broström. My bad. He's actually got left out to dry completely here. I thought he was doing a good choice. He's now about 10th back in the outside line. What has gone on there for Bright Sports? They were leading very comfortably, and now it's all changed.
I'm not sure that was an accident. I think they have just decided we need to save fuel, we need to reduce the risk. Let's get this from 3 wide to 2. And since they had a monopoly on the low line there, they could just coordinate between them. Let's some of us lift off here. Let's not cause a stack up, but let's just get it back to 2 wide again and not lose the draft. They've managed to stay within the draft at least. We've still got a good 19 drivers at the front of this race. However, it's a calmer 2x2 racing now. Noah's Ark racing as we head to halfway.
It's so funny how when you go back to 2 wide racing, it looks like there's half the cars in the race, but everyone is there. Obviously, the line is longer, but it's weird. It now just feels a lot more calm as we are on lap 40 of 86. So halfway, yeah, what's that, about 7 miles away as we work our way towards the front, the mid part of this race. The 6 is leading Sawicki. Of course, he's been involved in one too many incidents, so he's got put to the back at the previous race, at least in the qualifying, but he's raced well. He raced up towards the front in Bristol, and in general is looking good this season. A good signing there for Bright Esports, as they obviously a lot of these teams sort of had quite big driver changes over the off season. And as we work our way onto lap 41, it's still Ericsson leading, with Fredriksson pushing him on that high line.
Yep, it's going to remain like this, I think, for a little while now, until we get to probably over lap 50 in this race, of course. The lap at which you'd be absolutely sure of making it to the end would be lap 53, but I'm not sure all the drivers are going to have the luxury of making it another 12 laps after this one.
Yeah, I don't think so either, with how hard everyone's been pushing, but you never know. Those a bit further back in the pack, maybe they've been able to hold on to that fuel, but it was very much on the limit. Indeed, I think with how they've been racing, we may end up with another caution. But who knows? Because what we've seen in pretty much every race so far is we get a nice early caution, and then it goes green after that. But yes, that is getting, and this is what I mean, Ewan, I think we are going to get a caution with the pushing that we've seen.
I think we could get to the green flag pit stops and beyond, actually, before a caution. But I think, as you're right, before the end of this race, I think we are going to see another. Just a word on how caution heavy this could get towards the end. The time of this race is limited, of course, at 1 hour and 45. For the 86 laps to be run under green, you'd still have 20-30 minutes spare. So effectively, it's 20-30 minutes for cautions. Now, we've already had 4 laps under caution. That will have spent maybe 10 or so minutes. I reckon we can only afford 2 or 3 cautions in the race before we start getting limited by time. If indeed we go over the lap count, but we're under caution, we will have green, white checkers, of course, but we can't go over the hour 45 allotted for this race. So that's a bit of a headache towards the end, potentially.
Absolutely. There's a lot of movement now as drivers try and work their way. We've ended up with just 5 cars on this outside line, but it seems to be working fairly nicely indeed. And it's really weird that half of these Bright Esports cars are just completely gone. We've got Lundberg here, of course, started in that position on that front row on the outside line. He's finally worked his way back to the front in the 18 machine, and he's now leading the race. He's been pushed by Autos. There's a lot more energy on that high line. Are the Sim Race Studio cars going to come down? Yes, they are. Block it off. Is this going to be back to one-line racing?
Goodness me, that was close. I understand that there was probably a bit of an agreement there between Dan Papels, who it was squeezing down on Ericsson in the black, yellow and blue car. However, it could be a return to single file racing, not least because there's so little energy on the outside. Nicholas Helm doesn't have anyone pushing him at the moment. He's in free fall a little bit. There's a Team Superior driver out there, but it could well be single file here very shortly.
It's amazing. We've seen one wide, single file, we've seen double file, triple file, even quad file for a little bit of a time. Crazy stuff here at Talladega as we are now gone halfway in the race. Lap 44 we start and we move our way looking towards the end of this race. Still a pit stop remaining, remember. Although I haven't said that, if there's a caution right now, then they'll have to make another splash at the end if everyone comes down pit road. It's looking very good for Sim Race Sweden as it stands, but of course we've got Trash Car Customs leading the way with the number 18 right now.
Just want to report to you on some of the other groups going on in the field. Well, there's not a lot going on in this one now that we've passed halfway in this race. There's a second group, a pairing of Patrick Pfeffer and Thomas Kinnell, who dropped off the back of this group. So it was previously 21 drivers in this group. Now it's down to 19. Those two dropped off the back, but they've now been swept up by a further group, a third group that's now the second group on the road, if that makes any sense. 8 drivers now in this group with some lapped stragglers as well, who have caught up onto the back of them. They could really do with getting single file here, to be honest, and organised just like the front group are, otherwise they're going to be lapped, and that's not an exaggeration. So they are the second group. There is a third group on the road. That's the same trio of Fredrik Forsell, Christian Gantz and Pontus Nordgren, who've basically spent this first half of the race trying to stay out of trouble as much as possible, but they too are in danger of running a lap down if they're not too careful. They're 37 seconds, off the leaders and losing about half a second a lap.
Yeah, it's crazy how much time you lose when you're not working together. And I wonder what we can see from this group at the front. Of course, when you get 3 wide racing, you have so many cars bunched up, because if you're 5 cars deep, 3 wide, there's 15 cars, whereas a 15-car train in one line is way, way longer. And there is the 321 of Udebar. So I wonder how we're going to see these cars get themselves back up towards the front. Those who have dropped down a little bit further behind, for instance, like Kenneth T and Linus Brustrom, they are that 15th, 16th car in line. They're miles behind. And now they need to try and work their way back up. It's a very tricky situation because they're going to have to try and obviously force an attack at some point later on. As you say, I think this is the calm point of the race where they're just saving, thinking of the strategy for later.
I don't know if it's quite as difficult as it looks, to be honest, because famous last words, I suppose. But, you underestimate when you're watching it like this, and if we can get a shot on board with someone here, you realise just how much they're actually breathing off the throttle on these straights. They're actually barely on full throttle in the pack here. So I'm thinking of someone like Dominic Sawicki, who's got some teammates stacked behind him. He won't do this before the pit stop phase, by the way, but just if this was towards the end of the race. He's got teammates behind him. At the moment, he's breathing off the throttle a lot, especially into corners and whatever, especially on the back straight. You can see them there fanning out. That's them lifting off a little bit. They're just fanning out, finding a little bit of air as well. So if he doesn't do that, and instead as he's catching up to the driver ahead of him, he just turns right and goes past him, he'll have the confidence that Bohlin will follow him. Some of the others from other teams might follow him, but more importantly, his other teammates might start doing it as well, back in the pack. And as soon as we get 2 wide racing, then all bets are off. It's every man for themselves. And I don't think it's quite going to be as difficult to kick over the hornet's nest here and get everybody side by side again as it really looks right now.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm just thinking, though, if you get, obviously, the drivers in maybe 5th, 6th, 7th place, they move up, then there's a big hole for the drivers who are then in 10th place to try and get. So hopefully they can work that one out and make sure they get back to the front. But they don't drop back on purpose if there isn't a further plan. And for instance, with Auto sitting in behind, of course they got a rogue Trash Car Customs there up towards the front, who of course is then being followed by Sim Race Sweden and the Bright Esports cars. He hasn't got any teammates, but I don't think that's an issue for Auto, because as you say, he can effectively lead the race and save a bit of fuel.
I think that part of the problem was for Bright Esports that actually they weren't going to make it to the end of the race on just one stop, because they've been running so far so much of this race at the front since the caution that actually they've been using a lot of fuel. And just to make absolutely sure they can make it on one stop, I think it was wise for them to go and drop back, save a little bit of fuel. Now they'll know that they can make it. They can all pit on the same lap here, ideally lap 53 or later, and they don't have to worry about not making it on fuel. But it is a real disadvantage that they're all back there, and Sim Race Sweden, it's not inconceivable that Sim Race Sweden can work something out here, that they get ahead alone and they just draft away from the rest of the pack. It has been known that 3 or 4 car groups have drafted away from a big pack and contested the win alone, so they've got to be wary of that.
Absolutely. I do believe it was at this race last time when Alcanteg, they all pitted slightly early, who had a long green flag run. and they came out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-car push, and of course by the time everyone else pit they were miles ahead. Didn't end up working out, as I mentioned. Ericsson won here last time, but that is still something that you can do if we get to that stage, because on lap 50, Ewan, we're getting close to green flag pit stops.
Very close. Yeah, we've been running 30 laps now under green, so this is getting close. This is the second group on the road, by the way. They have got a bit more organised, like I suggested they should, and they're catching, by the way. They are catching at the very back of this train. Last time round for Helmbro it was a 52.0. Well, that's the matching time, but the time before they gained 2 tenths, so that just shows you there must be some fuel saving going on in this front group, because they're being caught by a smaller one at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's full push at the front with how it is, and they are trying to eke out those extra couple of laps. So remember, the numbers that we were told was 33 laps if you're out front leading, which means all they need to do is get another 3 laps from this position, and then they can get to the end leading. So let alone some fuel saving, but of course 2.66 miles, it is a long time, a lot of fuel that you have to save to do 1 lap around here. So that makes it a little bit more difficult compared to some other tracks. But on the flip side, I would say it is one of the easier tracks as such. We'll be able to lift off so much. So who is going to jump in first? Who wasn't able to save fuel? And then, of course, when we get the green flag pit stops, who is then going to come out? So first of all, it's going to be Eric Lundberg coming in.
He's on his own, though. He's on his own at the front anyway. Does anyone follow him behind? Yes, there are many behind. Goodness me. So who's left is the bigger question now. The top 11 are all left out there. The rest of them in the front group, so that is 8 of them, have all come in together. Lundberg, Aronson, Tier, Bratberg, Uvenen, Prostrom, Tidmo and Stiller have all come in.
Yeah, that's quite big for some of those Bray Sports cars a bit further back. So obviously they're a couple of seconds off the lead just with the field spread, so they need to try and work that together. The important factor for those going longer is, of course, they'll then also not have to do fuel saving or less fuel saving in the final stint. So that is going to be an important one as well. As you get back going, the 18 is there. But as you say, he's on his own, and he's going to basically lose time from that until the 24 catches up with the draft.
Oh dear, there's total speeding going on there. Fredriksson sliding his way through there. That was very close indeed. Now, did anybody speed back in the pack there the first time around? No. All 8 of them got onto pit lane fine. Tidmo, though, lost the draft, so there's only 7 of them remaining in that group. Sawicki, Bohlin and Helm have gone round again, by the way. There's 3 remaining out front.
Oh, that is good for the 2 Bright Esports cars. They were up the front leading, and they've actually gone longer. So maybe your leading's where you want to be. Funny how those games work out. And of course, technically, if you go far enough, maybe you don't have to go take a full amount of fuel. Someone there, though, that has a longer stop.
Alto, it's Alto. Tommy Alto has had a long stop. He must have been speeding, I'm afraid. Tuominen and Schott also having a really long stop. I think they've been speeding. Lundberg is leading the train here, by the way. Second time round, as they came in a few laps ago. He is leading that line anyway. Ericsson leading the second line, making his way out the pit lane. Not sure who this is on pit lane at the moment, but you can see it all happening in the bottom right. Here we go. Lundberg getting pushed, and he's going to be through on all of them. Look at this. Ericsson's still way up here, so they've got to be careful, and these guys who are coming out the pit lane have got to be careful not to lose the draft here. There's going to be a reduced front group at the end of all of this.
There certainly is. They're going to have the momentum. Of course, Simray Sweden, they're there, but they're still getting up to speed. Unfortunately, look at that push, though, from the 18. Unfortunately, the 24's dropped off because he wants to go in line, but the 18 was actually going to shoot to the front there. Here comes Sawicki across the stripe as he works his way out. But, of course, when we get to turn 3, that's going to be an important factor. Lundberg does go to the front, but that was definitely a decision from the 24 to sit in behind.
Now, where's Sawicki, Helm and Bohlin? They're terribly disorganised, I'm afraid. They could have done with working together a little bit better than that. Bohlin is in real danger of losing the group. Helm is pushing to try and get to Sawicki. He's going to get some semblance of slipstream. I think because they're the last ones out, and the others are going to have to go around them, I think they'll be okay and they'll stay in the draft, but it's terribly disorganised.
Bohlin might be able to do something here. How much does he want to risk it? No, he's going to stay low, and look at the speed difference that it is when you're out on the track compared to going up. so that Bohlin stays low, and we got that 3 cars at the front. And of course, this is going to be an important factor for where Savicki is going to fill in. Is he going to obviously stay towards the front? As we're getting some cars dropping down to that bottom line, but I still think the top will have just enough energy to get past as we come across the line. It's Savicki leading the lap, but the 18 gets the run.
That they will have enough energy here. Christian Gantz is on the inside here, by the way. Christian Gantz, excuse me. He's 27th, battling with Daniel Holmer for the lucky pass at the free pass on the circuit at the moment. So there's going to be no energy on the low side. Lundberg's going to get through here. There's another driver making their way out the pit lane here in front of these guys. So it's all going to be very, very messy indeed. There is 13 drivers in this leading group from the lead lap. There are those a lap down as well. They're going to have to go round a lap driver here. Savicki making sure he's going through the middle. He barges his way through the middle. Lundberg has to give room.
Yeah, Lundberg was trying his best to block off, but the 6 was being forceful. And Helm, of course, the 55, who dropped to the back and is now going to be up front, pushing the 6 for the race lead. What amazing stuff we've seen here. And of course, the 18 still on the outside line, being pushed by Ericsson. 30 laps to go, and this is getting very tense with the drivers realizing the long green flag run continues, and therefore you need to make the positions on the track yourself.
A very long green flag run indeed. This is Tuominen, by the way, just up ahead of them. Harry Tuominen, who had a 55-second stop there. He would have been speeding, and he's now part of this group as well, but 1 lap down. That's effectively what it's done. It's done the same to Marcus Stiller, who was also caught speeding. He's now in this group, but he's a lap down as well. So it's a big, big punishment for you if you're caught speeding. Tommy Alto is the next driver to be lapped, and he will be lapped. He's completely on his own, and so this leading group will sweep him up as well. That's the problem, really, in this leading group. There's only 13, 14 of them contesting the race win, but there's so many lap down drivers who have been swept up by the leading group and are now in the draft here that it just makes it a real mess, and you're not even sure who you're racing against.
Yeah, this is very difficult, especially for the 72 Oliver Wallen, for instance, on that inside line. He's got the car ahead of him, but he does have his 2 teammates behind. But how is he going to get to the front? He's got to go around that car. Very difficult situation to be in, and this is not not ideal, but it's working out so far. But of course, the teammates all find themselves together. So it's Bright Sports effectively on that bottom row, Simrace Sweden up top, a few different cars in between there as well, and I'm sure they're going to be trying to work together. It's 2 by 2 though, as we work our way around turn 3 and 4. So it was single file for a long time at the end of that middle stint, but now we're coming towards the end. They've gone back side by side.
Certainly have. There's 23 drivers now still on the lead lap, by the way, with Tommy Alto the next to be swept up. Pfeffer with him, so those two are the pair you can just see up ahead here. Would you believe it? 23 would still be the most amount of drivers we've had on the lead lap at the end of a race this season. What a bizarre season we've had so far.
That's an interesting set, especially considering the long green flag runs, but sometimes long green flag runs actually show up more issues than all of the caution field ones, where everyone can sort of get bunched up and then get their laps back, etc. So definitely interesting with how we've had the season so far. The bottom line is a lot more separate, but they are leading. The top line, they're more compact, but they're in behind. Very interesting how that works. 18 drops down though. The 18 drops down. He leaves the Simrace Sweden cars in behind. He saw he was losing time, and now we've got a couple more lapped runners who are getting in the way, but the 6 is really going on. It's going to be single file here once more, as everyone, I think, is trying to bunch together and trying to avoid that lapped traffic.
They were a little bit trying to avoid going 3 wide as well. So Savicki will go through the middle as a result, through the middle line, and he'll take the lead here ahead of Helm. Then third in line is Gantz, who's now leading the outside line despite being a lap driver. He's almost against his will being pushed into position here by Bohlin, who's effectively using it to fuel save and draft off of. He's a very useful lap down driver at the moment, is Gantz. And don't forget about the battle we're going to see here for the free pass, because Gantz, Pfeffer, Alto, Holmer, Tuominen and Stiller are all in this group. They're all 1 lap down, and they're all entitled to fight for the free pass. So that'll be an interesting battle within itself.
Absolutely, and as we have this long green flag run, we get to lap 60. It's a good time to hear some messages from our partners before we get to the end of this race. And you couldn't write it. As soon as we go to the ads, we get the 38 of Gantz getting turned there at the front. Of course, he was a lap down, and what it caused was a pretty big wreck. Multiple drivers involved. The 24 of Eracingligan there, of course, a couple of drivers who were lap down getting involved as well. But unfortunately, the 38 just coming across the front of everyone. And it was actually Kenneth Tier going into his teammate, being pushed from behind as well. Not the ideal situation for these drivers. So lap 62, we go under caution, and that is certainly not ideal. A lot of drivers actually came down pit road. So you have to remember in this series as well, we get 4 sets of new tires. That was only third stint of the race, which means there was a fresh set of tyres for those who wanted to come in. But if we have a caution later on, they will then not have those tyres, where those who stayed out will be able to take them. So yes, this is the Import Speedfest 369 by Team Superior. It is round 4 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, and we are now going to the end of the race. 24 laps remaining, and Ewan O'Leary has certainly been a pretty calm race, actually, with just the one caution a bit earlier. Then we had such a long green flag run, but how is this going to change the strategy to the end of this race?
Yeah, 41 lap green flag run just coming to an end there. I think it's going to make it maybe a bit more caution heavy towards the end. Everyone's going to now know that this less than 25 laps to go on this restart, and it's going to be go time. So it's going to be very interesting indeed to see what happens on this next restart. In terms of those who were damaged, by the way, Bohlin has made 53 seconds worth of stop and has come back out again, still on the lead lap. Dan Holmer got the pass around, so he's now on the lead lap again. Helm has come out the pit lane. He had to spend a long time in pit lane. Eracingligan and Tier are still in pit lane. They are the most damaged drivers from that crash. Tier just making his way out now to stay on the lead lap, but Eracingligan looks like he's got some more deeper repairs to go. So 21 remaining on the lead lap. Still the most this season.
Yeah, crazy stuff with how this is working out. Look at the 24 there, just keeping himself on that lead lap. Good timing with the exit of the pit lane as the pace truck works his way around. So Lundberg and Ericsson still leading. We've got Uvenen up there now as well. We've got Peppels, we've got Motin, Brewstrom and Savicki dropped down to P9 and P10. They were obviously slightly involved in that battle. We've got Kenneth Tier. He was one of the real big ones involved. He's gone down to 21st place. And where has Eracingligan worked out 22nd? So he'll have his teammate to push indeed. So that was definitely, I'd say, Ewan, quite a big changer, though, to how the race is going to go. And it seems like everyone obviously was getting a little bit over-eager, and we had a lot of the lap drivers in the way. Of course, they're now going to be out of the way, so it might be a little bit nicer for the next 5-10 laps.
But, well, are they going to be out of the way? Because there's still a lot of drivers just 1 lap down. Alto, Pfeffer, Gantz and Stiller. Gantz somewhat miraculously has survived. So they're all going to be fighting for the lead lap. In doing so, they're going to be going past some drivers on the lead lap. And there's still plenty of drivers in this race who are not really anywhere close to the lead lap at the moment. We've still got, as far as I can work out, 30 drivers running. They'll all start from this front group. I'm not sure it will be any less mixed up than what we've seen before. In fact, I think that it'll be a bit more mixed up, because there are some drivers who stayed on the lead lap but because of being in that second group and were nowhere near the front group beforehand. They're now back with everybody else. This is going to be a bigger front group than we've seen since the start of this race, pretty much, certainly since the restart from the first caution. It's going to be with about 50% less race remaining, and there's only 23 laps to go, so I think it has the potential anyway to be even more chaotic, and everyone is going to be absolutely going for it now on this restart with 23 to go.
Well, that's only good news for us then, as we are going to start lap 64 here for the Import Speedfest 369 by Team Superior. They got Bratberg. Team Superior have 4th in line on that bottom row in that orange car. He's got his teammate not too far behind as well, trying to work their way to the front. But as we get to the restart, it is Lundberg in the 18 for Trash Car Customs. He gets us underway as he's led for quite a while in this middle part of the race. The 37 already goes to the low line. Big push to the outside from Uvenen, though, as he tries to work his way up to the front.
Yeah, Ericsson lets Fredriksson in there, or the other way around. Sorry, Fredriksson let Ericsson in, and Uvenen wasn't really let in by Dan Peppels, but has sort of forced his way in. So the low line has lots of energy, and they'll race away, but it will be now up to the high side. People will start migrating up top now, and that will start to move here. So Wiki giving a big push at the moment to Oscar Motin on the outside here.
Yeah, there was just exactly a car's length for Uvenen to drop down, and he's managed to make it work. There is Pebbles in the 3:29 machine, currently in that 5th place, working his way out of turn 4, and he should be okay there with Uvenen, but of course he would have preferred to have his teammates directly. And you can see how the gaps between the cars works its way forward and back, and this is a bit of carnage, bit of contact on the front straight. Are they keeping in the straight line? I think they are, as Hogman and Bohlin go past the 101. The 101's already had contact there, which caused the second caution of the first caution of the day, I should say, as you go 3 wide out of turn 2.
They've got to be careful they don't cause a split in the group, though, by doing this and going 3 wide. They've got to get organised here and make sure they don't let those guys race away. Look at the gap and look at how organised they are. They've got to be really careful here, and these guys will know it. That's what happened. Bjorn Broström was rather rudely shoved to the low side there.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's had a hard time to get back up in line as well. So we've gone single file up towards the front as Lundberg still leads the way. I think Sim Race Sweden love the fact that Lundberg is there. Of course, not a teammate, but a car that they can use just to control at the front of the field. And these single file lines make it harder to jump from the back very quickly. When there's a couple of lines, you can easily go up or down a line and try and work your way forward with the cars so close together. Now, if you're 10th place, you're over a second off the lead compared to, just 2 tenths if it was 2x2 or 3x3.
I think you're absolutely right, by the way. It's almost like in an athletics race that the person who runs because they know they're not going to make it to the end, but they're just trying to do a good pace for everybody else. That's what it feels like Lundberg's doing for Sim Race Sweden at the moment. He's just doing the pace that they want for the moment, knowing that he's going to be thrown to the side by the end. But he'll be hoping, of course, that he can hold his own. I'm not sure he's going to be able to with so many teams around him. He really needs a teammate, Lundberg, to be honest, and there's nobody to help him, really.
It's a struggle, isn't it, without teammates around here. Talking to teammates, Savicki on that second line with Broström, his sister teammate there for Brighty Sports and Morby Brighty Sports. They are pushing towards the front. We saw this earlier. The 2-car train, I think, might be the most effective around here, actually, as it's working very nicely. Broström already got from 22nd to 1st with his teammate Kenneth Tier, and he's now got Savicki as they continue on that outside line, as we're getting, of course, inside the final 20 laps now here at Talladega.
Yep, it's still the low side prevailing, but I said earlier on the high side would get organised again and they get the energy going, and now they have done. Although Lundberg is still leading going into the final 20 laps, they're starting to get organised. They're starting to form a 3rd line up there now as well.
Yeah, awesome stuff as we're trying to... Oh, there's actually a block. It was Broström there getting a block to that line. The issue is Savicki is a little bit sort of out of place, out of position for his teammate behind. So they've covered that one off, but they've lost about 5 car lengths to the lead by doing that. It's really difficult to predict how this one is going to end. So many decision-making events going on, and the variables continue on. But it's working out very nicely indeed for some as they work their way forward.
Yeah, it's a good block in the end from Broström. He did stack up the field a little bit, but he's also sort of created a bit of energy for himself. Who on earth is this coming out the back straight at the moment, getting lapped? It's someone getting re-lapped here. Someone already multiple laps down, and so the low side Lundberg will move up. Now everybody's going to have to do the same. What's going to happen once they get into the 3 wide section of the field, though, because it's coming, and we're going to be 4 wide shortly.
Yeah, there was a 4 wide moment there for a little while. Maybe even 5 at one point from the angle. That was crazy to see. Everyone's getting a bit leery. We're single file for a while. I thought we were going to stay there for a little bit. Everyone's staying calm. But no, they are still trying to get to the front. Look at that 3rd line as that's been blocked off by Broström. That's a very, very tough block. That's Helmbro, the 77. He was in that 2nd pack, half a lap off the lead. And now he's looking to be pushed up towards the front.
Yeah, Helmbo doing a good job here at the moment on the outside. Look at that up top. Oh, Brattberg, I think that is, in the 111. Getting right up in front of Savicki there for Team Superior, trying to work his way through to the front of this race. Of course, the sponsors of this race trying to win their own race and trying to do it from the outside line, but they're not really getting anywhere. They're arguing amongst themselves about how to overtake the low line, and in doing so, they're just letting the low side run away with it.
This is very tough situation because they want to block, obviously, but as you say, they're just losing time by doing it. We go 4 wide momentarily once more, as that's the 101 Hawkins shot. He is a Bright Esports teammate, remember, of the 71 and the 6 there. So they're trying to work their way 3 wide. Helmbro doesn't come up quick enough. They've also got Bohlin just in behind, so they're positioning themselves very nicely on the outside line as they try to push their way up towards the front now. But as you say, you in the low line is looking very, very strong.
It is a noticeably smaller group now. As of course you can see 20 in this leading group from the lead lap, and the rest are laps down. Kenneth Tier and Bjorn Broström are off the back despite being on the lead lap as things stand. So this front group has been reduced a little bit. I'd imagine lap traffic will still have a part to play in the remaining 16 laps of this race as well.
I tell you what, these laps are flying by. These long green flag runs are really, just testament to how the drivers are driving, but also it just makes the lap count quicker, and there's less time and less options, some would say, in terms of strategy. The outside line, I think, is still looking fairly good. They've got Hawkins shot to the front. Is he going to be pushed by the 71 of Broström? One by one, they're going up the train. There's definitely a lot of energy still remaining in that outside line. They're about 10 cars back on the previous lap, and now they're just 3 from the front.
Yeah, here they go. They've really got themselves organised now. It's taken them a while, but now with Bright Esports taking the top 3 positions, they have been able to push each other really hard down the back straight, which is where you want to do it. Now shot is level with Fredriksson, who just comes up to side draft him a little bit. He's got to be careful about that because he might get slowed down and take the energy out the low side. Here come those on the high side. Shot could be in the lead by the line here.
And how the turntables, we come across the line, lap 72 begins. We were single file for a while, it went a bit crazy. We've now come back to 2x2, and this outside line that was miles behind is now surely going to be hitting the front by the end of this lap, although the 101 just goes slightly lower there. The 71 trying to get a little bit of the run off the banking as we come down this back straightaway, and this is really good team play from them. Just 2 cars off the lead now, a little bit of a wiggle there, maybe a bit too much contact from the 101.
Yeah, this is getting nicely organised on the high side now. You can start to see it looking a little less good for the low line as things stand. By the way, I'm not sure we've got too much more than half an hour remaining in the timing here, so not all the time in the world if there's going to be more cautions before the end, but if we get towards the end here, we could well see green-white checkers, don't forget. It doesn't mean the end of the race necessarily, 86 laps.
Yeah, that is a good point. And with the green flag run, that would be very important for those who went the lap longer for the fuel saving indeed. But then, of course, I'm sure if we got to that stage, everyone would just put under the caution anyway for the new tyres. So let's see if that is going to happen. But the 101, he's kind of just stalled a little bit. They were really racing up on that top lot, but they haven't been able to lead. It's still the 18 who's looking so strong up towards the front there. The 101 is getting a good run through 3 and 4 though, and once again just going half a car sideways of the 71 in behind, but then we get the big push off turn 4. Can they lead up towards the line? It's such a long run to the stripe here. We need to find out on that last lap who is going to be coming across it first, and once again across the line it looks like the 18 leads another lap.
I mean, if it stays like this, my concern for Simrace Sweden will be getting boxed in here. It's all well and good having Lundberg setting the pace for you out front here for Jesper Eriksson, but where do you go if you're trying to go for the win here? Is he just trying to consolidate second and bank some more points? I would find that really unlikely. I think he wants to go and try and win this, but where does he go? There's barely any space on the back straight. Well, maybe that's a way of doing it. Lundberg goes to the inside, very nearly pushed to the inside, and all that momentum goes. Eriksson pushes him even harder to get him back up to speed, and he slides again, and here goes shot to the outside.
And the important factor as well for sort of deciding who's going to win the race, I'm sure it's not going to finish side by side like this. We will go 3-4 wide across the line as people try and make their moves. But of course, Lundberg is of course quite far down in the championship. He's 16th place. Hawkins is 7th place in the championship. So there would be big names to jump up and confirm themselves with a playoff place. So the 37, the 71 in behind, they're not going to want that to happen from that point of view either. Well, I guess 71 is his teammate of Hawkins, but in terms of Lundberg, they're not going to want that to happen as such to someone that far down in the championship getting a confirmed space already. So definitely we are going to be getting some big movers as we're coming up towards 10 laps or 11 laps remaining in the race.
Yeah, don't forget that Daniel Holmer, Jesper Eriksson and Alexander Aronson are the 3 drivers currently who've locked themselves into the playoffs by winning a race. Linus Prost and Magnus Hagman, though, still have more points than them at the front. Haven't seen Linus for a little while, but he is still on the outside. We haven't really talked about him very much because he's doing the pushing here to Hagenschott on the outside line. And since he's doing so well in the points, and this would be another top 10 run for him, his 4th for the season, I think he'll be very pleased, actually, to push Hagenschott just for the moment.
Yeah, it's working out very nicely for them. They've been very good with the team play over the course of the race. Not easy to do so, but of course there'll be communication. But then when you have so many drivers to communicate with, you still need sort of maybe a leader or a couple of guys to be calling decisions. Can't be having 5 voices shouting at each other. It's certainly a tough one for these teams. But that is why we also look at the Teams Championship as much as the Drivers' Championship as well. It's very much a big part of this style of racing. And it is looking like they've just calmed down for a couple of laps here, as they're not doing anything too crazy. The green flag run continues on, and we still have that concern of a couple of drivers maybe getting to the end. But I guess that is why some of the people you maybe expect to lead this race aren't the cars at the very front of the field.
Yeah, maybe. We'll wait and see what happens in these final laps. I think there's still a lot to change here. I know that 2 lines are just drag racing one another effectively as things stand, but the real positioning for these final laps hasn't really begun yet. They're going to start moving 3 wide shortly, and that's when the movement really gets interesting. That's where the positioning gets very interesting indeed. Who could pick the right lines? Who can pick the right moment in these final 10 laps to go and win this race?
Yeah, indeed, and there's 2, I mean, all of these drivers, especially the ones in, let's say, the top 10, they all think they can win this race still. Maybe even ones behind have an outside hope of that. But all of them they're trying to plan their way. Where are they going to get themselves to the front? What are they going to do when we get inside those last 5 laps? That is a very, very tricky situation. 15 miles or so to work out where you're going to be. It's not an easy one at all, as there's no big movers, no big pushes just at this moment in time. We still got Lundberg leading and the 1-0 of Hagenschott on his outside. Yeah,
and they're absolutely photo finishes all over the place at the moment. They are neck and neck down the backstretch, down in towards 3 and 4 again. Little changing here for the moment, very little changing, and we're getting surprisingly close to the end of the race now, towards the end of the race here, with so little changing. But now here we go. Lundberg loses his line briefly, but he gets back in again, and there's more lap traffic to come here. Yeah, this could be an important factor. Can the 101 block him down, or do they leave a car's width? As this is a very tricky situation coming through turn 2. Just how tight do they want to give it? It's going to be 3 wide momentarily. Lundberg comes up to avoid the traffic, and to be fair, the outside line gives them the room, so I don't think that's actually going to be too big of a deal, but they are going to get a little bit of side draft on each other as we work our way back down the back straight, and in the end, that traffic actually not causing too much problems. Not in the end, because they were only 2 wide, but you can see everybody getting restless now. The moving around going on in the background, the stacking up as well down the backstretch there. Very interesting indeed. And I don't think that's going to be the last bit of lap traffic we see here. Kenneth Tier is still a long way off the back here. That was Bjorn Broström, by the way, they all caught. That's another driver a lap down. Kenneth Tier is still struggling at the back of the field, and there may be others multiple laps down who are in between this big pack and the end of this race. So we might well not have seen the last negotiation of traffic just yet. Oh, I don't think so, as this is getting close. The 2 lines are trying to side draft each other through turn 2 and turn 3. The high line is definitely coming a little bit lower than they have been on previous laps. Before, they were really up towards the wall, and now they're coming lower and lower. I think with how we're seeing everyone bunch up, I think, Ewan, we're seeing more like percentage of throttle being used by all of these drivers. Yeah, we are just seeing everybody push that little bit harder. You wouldn't have seen this at the start of the race. You just see, by the way, everybody's a little bit closer, a little bit more aggressive. You can tell it's the final 10 laps of this race. But again, that final bit of positioning for the very end has not quite begun yet. They're leaving this really late because they know they can, and also they know how dangerous it is once everybody really starts jockeying for position.
I feel like there may be a big wreck coming here with how close. Look how close everyone is. They're nose to tail, bumper to bumper, barely leaving any space between each line. This is going to be very, very interesting in these final 5 laps of the race. It's round 4, the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. The Import Speedfest 369 by Team Superior. Unfortunately, they're about 7 cars back on the outside line. The 2 orange cars, they probably won't be winning this race, and there's a big wreck in front of them. But the strategy, the team play today has been absolutely insane. A couple of cautions along the way. Fuel is tight for everyone to get to the end, but they're still pushing.
I think it's hard to argue that Bright Esports are not in the best position, though, if you're thinking about teams here. They're stacked up 3 on the outside, very well organised. So Wiki and Brostrom have proved themselves as decent pushers. I think the only doubt is maybe that Schott can actually run up the front towards the very end here, because we haven't seen him do it so far, but he could very well be able to. And the advantage they've got is that Simrace Sweden are caught in behind Lundberg and potentially boxed in. Although with a good run from the low line here, now they've got a chance. If they want to go past Lundberg, they've got a chance here.
Certainly do. 4 remain on the line. We're going 3 wide for a moment.
Oh, no.
And they're trying to work out where they're going to do. This is a bit awkward for the 71 because I think he's got a bit of overlap with Savicki. They were able to block that one off very nicely. I think that was Helmbo trying to make a move. And they're actually coming across the line to hold on to that position for now. But the laps certainly come down ever more. And this is getting close. All the opportunities are sort of going out the window for some of these drivers. Not really any places they can do. Lundberg, is he going to go up to the high line? Does he think Bright Esports can get him this victory? No, the 101 comes back.
I just do not know what you do as Lundberg here. It's impossible almost. It's an impossible choice to make. Schott goes now to the outside as the high side gets some real momentum. Here goes Helmbro now, trying to start his own line up top. 2 Bright Esports block this one off as well. As they get on the outside, yes they do. Right up on the outside there, Schott goes through the middle, but coming through on the very outside goes Brostrom.
And all this has done is reduce their energy. Oh my God, Simrace Sweden, they tried, big wreck in turn 3. Simrace Sweden tried to come high. Brostrom's just holding on to this. Simrace Sweden involved. Papel's holding on to that. Savicki is involved in that one. Huge wreck, plenty of cars. They were all trying to fight for position in the final 3 laps. And what has ended is multiple drivers in a wreck.
It has, I'm afraid. A real shame at the end of that run. We're going to go green-white checker at the end of this race. We are going to get laps added on to this race here this evening, as the big one has effectively happened there. So Wiki is certainly in it. Down at the back, I'm afraid Brackberg's in it. Wallen, Lundveld as well, Motin. There's plenty of drivers involved in this one. This is the biggest crash of the day.
Yes, that was a big one. Everyone was getting a little bit too leery there, trying to go 3 wide, drivers trying to block it off. So let's try and pick out where this is going to be. So it's the Fredriksson, he came out, then it was the 329 there of Pepels. He really was the one who started that. And unfortunately, we had the 86 involved. Of course, we had Savicki involved there, and I think it was Oliver Wallen was the other car for Bright Esports, and of course, loads of extra drivers. And that was just a tough situation. Interesting to see the sprawl, though, Ewan, of the Simrace Sweden. They tried to cover all 3 lanes there through turn 3, but it was actually the issues in behind that caused the wreck.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to hedge their bets a little bit there on how they could get to the win of this race, but you can't cover all of the lines at the end of the day, and so I guess that's difficult to do. But it's going to be interesting to see who comes in here, who needs to get repairs, and indeed who even stays out but is damaged here, because they will certainly be no longer contenders for this race. Wallen is the first of them to come in for repairs. It's not the first incident he's been involved in today.
Yeah, Brackberg as well, unfortunately, for Team Superior, sponsors of the race. That is not ideal. He's leading for a time early on. And yeah, obviously laps, as you say, being added on. Lap 87 we are going up to. But do these drivers have the fuel? I would assume so, by the fact that they are staying out. And I guess this type of track as well isn't going to be maybe like Kansas, where we saw a couple of years ago, where you get sort of the green flag run at the end on new tyres and come through the traffic. I don't think necessarily that's going to be a big factor here.
No. If they could do without the tyres, then they would do. But of course, you might as well do them while you're getting fuel earlier on in the race. But that's all out the window now. So unfortunately, that's as far as those who have been involved in multiple incidents today, by the way, that's Wallen's second incident of the day. A second bit of damage, anyway, that he's had to repair. got caught up in the last crash about 20 laps ago when Christian Gantz was turned by Bohlin. He had to make some repairs then. He's having to make some even more now. That's 4 from the lead lap who are getting repairs. Marcus Stiller, though, gets the free pass and he's back on the lead lap.
Have you noticed the interesting situation that we've got here, Ewan, though, where Ericsson and Fredriksson are going to be split up by the split of the field, and therefore, so Lundberg hasn't got Ericsson pushing him like he has for the whole race, but then also Ericsson's now going to be out of that line from his teammates, so that's going to be very difficult. Ericsson did drop down very early after starting on the outside line previously, so we'll have to see if Fredriksson can judge the gap to Lundberg to try and help him, but certainly not the ideal situation as he'll have Uvenen in behind. We still have the Bright Esports of Schott and Broström in that top 6 though, but definitely all gloves are off when we get to this green-white checker.
However, if you remember, they were split apart on the last restart as well, and Fredriksson just let him in. So he might do that again here. He might just... admittedly, they were a row further back, but still, they could just let each other in here, and Ericsson could get straight back on the low side. But it depends how they want to go about winning this race. If they're happy to finish 2nd and 3rd, then let Ericsson in, and then they can finish 2nd and 3rd without any major problems, and there wouldn't be a big challenge for the race win either. But they probably do want to win this race, so let's see how they play it in the end here. And how on earth does Lundberg play this from the front of this race? I've got no idea how he can stop all the teams, but this is the best situation for him probably. It's bad for him when there's a long green flag run and the team to get organised. This 2 laps of chaos could play into his hands.
Absolutely, but that's the only way they can do it. It's going to be very hard for Fredriksson to get up behind Ericsson unless Uvenen has a bad start, but they can't control that. What they can control is getting Ericsson in front of Fredriksson, so that is a very interesting one. Bright Esports, I think they're going to have a difficult time to win the race from here in just 2 laps, but you never know. That is over 5 miles of racing. The Talladega Super Speedway has been an absolute treat, Ewan, for round 4 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. Do you have any predictions as we come to the green-white checker?
Another attempt required.
You think it's going to be more than one?
No, I'm only joking. I do actually think we're going to go green to the end here for this one. I certainly believe we're going to get to the white flag and then as a result get to the end as well. In terms of who's going to win, I've honestly got no idea. It could be anyone of the top 10 or so. I think if you're below that, then you're going to be struggling. But yeah, it's difficult because all of the teammates are split apart effectively, and they haven't got time to organise themselves. So it's every man for themselves in these final 2 laps, really.
Yeah, this is quite crazy stuff, as it's only round 4 of the season, but a win locks you into the playoffs. And for the likes of Lundberg, that could be very important. Uvenen as well. Even Fredriksson, who of course basically pushed Holmer to the win in Bristol. This could be an important win for someone. The Import Speedfest 369 hopefully only has 2 laps to go. Green-white checker coming. The race should have finished now on lap 86, but we're going to go for 2 more times around. Lundberg, who's led basically the whole of this final part of the race, it leads us to the line. Ericsson on the outside line, but his teammate Fredriksson is on the inside. How are they going to play this, as it is a bit of a jump there for the 37. He gets a good bump from the 84. He might be leading as we come down in towards turn 1. Broström, the 6th place there on that outside line. It is going to be all pushes to the front.
And it's the teammates on the 2nd and 3rd positions. They're not able to get together like they were on that most recent restart. Apologies. It's Tony Uvenen who's giving the big push to Ericsson here, and then just in behind is Broström. But where's the energy going to come from on the high side after that? Where's it going to come from? Now they move up. They're abandoning Lundberg, who's going backwards, and Ericsson's going to lead into 3.
He certainly is. Is he going to drop down and be pushed by Lundberg? They work together. Yes, he is. He's going to come across the nose. Just about. There's only 1 centimetre in between them as the 84 goes high to block off Broström. Now he's going to drop down. This might work wonderfully. There's a crash in the background. Caution is going to come out. Lap 87 up, down the 24 goes. That's not the first time he's been involved in a wreck. I think Holmer's involved in that one as well as we come across the line. Ericsson, of course, in the lead, but we're going to go back under caution.
We certainly are. That was not ideal on that restart, I'm afraid. It was always going to happen. Another big crash. Arlton flies through the air, goes up and over again. Dan Peppels is back to pit lane, so's Anton Brackberg. Bohlin is either just slowing down to avoid everything or is involved again. Let's have a look.
Indeed. So we go 3 wide. There's a Homer through the middle. The 24 goes wide. Massive overrun there. And then it was just the 55 coming up, the 79 going down. And unfortunately, everyone, oh my God, the 24 got put up in the air so quickly there, fortunately going back on the wheels. But that was a very tough situation for them. I don't know, Ewan, I don't think either car necessarily did too much wrong with the 55 and the 79 there.
It was Homer and Helm coming together, wasn't it?
Yeah.
One of those things maybe. I think they could have been a bit more careful between the two of them, to be honest, to avoid contact. But there you go. It's bound to happen, I suppose, towards the end of the race. And so we're going to need a second attempt. Of course, the second and last attempt to green-white checker. We are going to have time for this, but we only get one more attempt regardless.
Do we have fuel? Is my next thinking, because we haven't. I mean, obviously there's laps of caution, but it's not like you use zero fuel during that time. So interesting one. I'm sure they would have come down pit road if they had to. Is that Lundberg? Is that Lundberg coming in? Surely that is for fuel. He was the earliest stopper in the final round of stops, and maybe that has just caught him short. He doesn't have enough for 2 more laps. That's such a shame, because had we gone to the checker there, he probably would have had enough and probably would have got inside the top 5 at least.
That's what I said earlier on. The Sim Race Sweden guys were more than happy for him to lead, because they were saving fuel behind him while he was pounding around on full throttle. That's all well and good, leading laps, losing loads of laps, but if it ends up meaning you need a late stop like that, then it's no use really. So I'm afraid that's the disadvantage of running the strategy that he has done. But either way, I think he would have found that final restart again very, very difficult indeed. Oscar Motin follows him in, makes a similarly short pit stop, but there are some longer stops back here for damage again now. Connie Lundell seems to be making a relatively long stop, Helm for obvious reasons, Holmer as well. Stiller and Ackerson making long stops as well.
And after all of this, we've ended up with, is that the top 5 drivers all in different teams? So after us talking of the team play coming to the end of the race, we now do not have that, and this is going to be a very, very interesting one. Can't wait to see how the restart is going to go. Is every driver for themselves? Because we do have a Sim Race Sweden car a little bit further in behind. That is Fredriksson in 6th place. We've got a couple of Bright Esports, Schott and Savicki, but are they going to be able to find the back of their teammates who will be on the front row at the restart?
Yeah, let's wait and see on that front. I don't know. I think there's too little time remaining. It won't surprise you to learn that this will be the shortest green flag run to the end of a race this season, if indeed we get a green flag run to the end of this race, and hopefully we do and don't end under caution. But I don't think that's enough time to really get together. I mean, not that much changed in the top 5 or so in the opening part of that previous restart. I mean, that's the kind of thing you've got to mark this on now. This is not the start of a long green flag run. The previous lowest was only 14 laps. You know, we're not going to get anywhere near that in this final run to the line. So we're going to see every man for themselves again, and we're going to see very little teamwork, I think.
Yeah, this is very interesting for these guys. As we go, obviously, across the stripe one more time, are we going to be going side by side? Brewster has basically been there anyway, but will this be the lap that we restart? Of course, 2 to go, and we need to make it to the finish line to get onto that final lap. And of course, we'll be able to find out the winner at the next flag. So very interesting situation. Brewster is clearly up for this by the fact that he's been side by side with Ericsson for so long. He's going to have the 77 of Peter Helmbro, a couple of time pole position driver in this series, but yet to win a race. Can he find a way to get to the front? It is tough to predict now, as there's no teammates around them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be every man for themselves in this final 2 laps. Going to be very, very exciting to watch indeed, as we bring the 24th caution of the season to a close. We're racking them up already in 4 rounds, so perhaps unexpected, but or to be expected, I should say, but there you go. 19 still on the lead lap. How many of those realistically have contention for this race win, though? I would say 10 at most, really. Not least because of damage, but actually because of positioning as well.
And with how the season is going to work out, it probably will be a championship battle between Ericsson and Brewster. How important could this be? Of course, Ericsson's already got a win to lock himself into the playoff. If he takes this away from Brewster, I'm sure Linus will grab a win at some point and get his way into the playoff, even on points at least. But that could be quite an important factor. Whereas, obviously, Broström getting that win, that could obviously lock himself in and just relax a little bit through the mid part of this regular season. It's a tough one to predict, but certainly important result here at Talladega. We're supposed to have 86 laps. We're going to be going to 92 potentially as we get to the end of this race. Round 4 of the season. We're going to get a 2-time winner for Ericsson. Are we going to get a first win of the season for the 71? Pace truck comes in. The 37 will have control as we come through the triover. We didn't make it on that first green-white checker to the line to start the final lap. Are we going to do it this time around? Everyone is going to be flat out to the finish as lap 91 is going to get underway. The 37 on that inside line, he will have the control and he will take us back to green flag racing with Tony Uvenen pushing him. It's a bit of a slower run from that outside line from the 71. Peter Helmbro needs to get back up so they can push themselves. Look at the 37 though. He comes up to the high line as Broström is covered off there.
What a start from Ericsson, but he almost too far in front here. Needs to be careful. Now Uvenen gets to the back of him, but there's no energy on this low side. Not really very much on the high side either. Now they're getting to him. So Wiki's making his way up the field here, right into the back of Helmbro, who's now going to go up top. They're all going up top here, leaving Ericsson on his own down here pretty much, getting pushed on the low side. But there goes Broström round the outside. He's going to lead into 3 and 4.
He certainly is. The 77 is giving him a nice push, but also on that inside line, look out for Uvenen, the 84, pushing Ericsson. We're trying to get a bit of side draft from the 71, coming down a bit low. Are we going to get to the final lap? 2.66 miles remain as we go 3 wide. The 6 is coming through. The 84 slightly blocks that off side by side across the stripe, and we get to the final lap of the race.
So Wiki very brave through the middle, but we are going to get a finish here at Talladega. The first green-white checkered finish of the season. It's surely between this top 10 who have broken away. Ericsson, though, on the low side with 3 helpers behind him is going to be in the money here, surely. He's got a very good start as there's more runs coming behind. Now Broström gets the run. Now the blocks come out. Ericsson slides. He still leads after a great block on the backstretch.
That was probably the block that might win him this race, but he gets loose, he's touched, and he is going to go up into the wall, surely. No, all of them apart from, we go 4 wide, the 101 goes into the wall. Broström is involved as well. Caution is going to come out, final lap. Marcus Hogman, second place in the championship, and across the line, it is going to be Jesper Ericsson getting his second race victory of the season. Absolute carnage in behind. Hagström is going to get second place, Fredriksson in third, and Bohlin will be in 4th place, and that was getting too tight between the drivers. I think Broström will end up in 5th place after being involved in that wreck, but in behind there were some big names being taken out as well.
Wow, Ericsson wins by 0.7 of a second. Have you ever seen a bigger winning margin at Talladega? Astonishing finish. And Simray Sweden take a 1-2 as well. Another astonishing finish for Oliver Bohlin, who gets through all of this to finish 4th despite being involved in 2 crashes in the final quarter of this race. I mean, where do you even start with all of that? That's maybe the biggest crash we've seen today.
There's too much to play out there. So it's actually the 6 of Savicki and the 101 of Hawkenshot teammates getting involved in turn 3. That's obviously spun them around, pushed them in front of each other. But for 37, Jesper Ericsson, he was up front for most of the day. He let Lundberg stay out the front, who did not have enough fuel, remember, to get to the end. The 37 did, and he was able to take his second race victory of the season and definitely put himself up towards the front of this championship. Let's see this once more. This is the 1-1-2 of Fredriksson, who ended up on the podium. How is he going to avoid all this carnage? There is the push up to the side, and then the 18 comes down low. He's going to be involved in the wreck, and Fredriksson, the parting of the seas, and the 61 of Hagström on his inside, they just go through as if nothing happened.
Blimey. Remarkable. Simray Sweden will be very, very pleased indeed with that. A similar good performance on that last restart from Oliver Bohlin, as I say, involved in the cautions that brought out the involved in the second and third cautions of the day, damaged in both of those, got his car repaired somewhat decently and still finishes 4th as a result of getting through on that. That was a remarkable finish, chaos as you'd expect here at Talladega. And in the end, a maybe expected winner, Ericsson, for the 2nd round in a row.
I don't think he had enough fuel there to do the donut, but we'll grab him in. He's already here for the interview. Let's have a look and speak to him as we see him on the stripe there. And yes, Ericsson, the number 37, that was unbelievably tight there. We'll start with the final lap. First of all, coming off turn 2, what an insane block there up on Linus. Just how were your nerves at that point in the race?
To be honest, my mindset was like the Xfinity guy said in real life, I'm not lifting until I see God or checkered flag, and I didn't. Even my spin I had, or save, or whatever you can call it, I was flat. I was flat throughout all of that shit. Oh, my nerves, my heart. I don't know what to say. I just want to thank, of course, first of all, Oscar for pushing me to the stage win too. That was awesome, and I want to thank Holmer, Dan, Timo, Melvin, Tommy, just everyone in the team, because this race was awesome. I loved it. Fucking hell, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. That was a crazy finish there. I also want to ask, how tight were you on fuel at the end? Obviously, you were able to do the cool-down lap, but with the long green flag runs we got there and that first caution, it was at the perfect time, really, to sort of get to the end.
I ran out of fuel before entering turn 1 after the checkered flag, so yeah, that's how tight I was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
that was quite something. And as for the beginning, also the middle part of the race, it was a big battle between you and your teammates, Sim Race Sweden, against the Bright Esports contingency at the front. How were those team games and the communication? That must have been, quite a lot of concentration.
We communicated every lap about absolutely everything, when we have a checkup, about just everything that happened throughout the race, and the communication just can't get better. It's top notch. This team is just amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, Oscar pushing you to the end there, getting himself up on the podium. How do you think you can, obviously you're easily locked into the playoffs now, how do you think you can work your way to get him into a race victory? Because of course he had a podium back at Bristol as well. He's looking very strong this season.
I told him, like, if you can, I'm gonna do everything I can to just push you, because for me the victory wasn't my top priority. It's to get more wins for the team, but I think so I'm just gonna try to help him and just everyone else as much as I can, because they all need wins at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations for your victory today. And I think it was really that block of turn 2 that won you that race. So good job on that. That was crazy driving.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Good stuff. And then we'll bring in his teammate, Oscar Fredriksson, in a moment. Actually, we'll get the race results first. So Jesper Eriksson there in that first place. And Fredriksson was gifted second place, actually, by just 4 thousandths of a second from Michael Hagström, who got into that third place. Linus Broström will end in 4th. And Oscar Mote in the 94. Didn't really speak about him all day, but he was there in the background and got 5th place in the end. Anton Bratberg for Superior Hot Dogs. Thanks for them for sponsoring this race. They ended up in 6th place. Stiller, Helmbro, Hockenschott, and Tademo round out your top 10 for the race today after 92 laps, so just a little bit longer. Pfeffer Uvenum, Hagström as well inside your top 13. Savicki ended up in P14 after being involved there, and just 16 drivers with Wallen and Lundell rounding out the drivers on the lead lap. Then Lundberg, Helm, Gansen, Broström, I should say, round out your top 20. And of course, then we get to loads of drivers who are laps down here. Very much a carnage field finish with a couple of cautions at the end there. Alto, Holmer, who got the fastest lap on lap 66. Cannell, Orkerson, Peppels, Araldson, their big name, P26 there for your number 24 driver. Kenneth Tier as well, he was having a strong day, ends up 22nd. Tumen and Dahlstrand and Forshall inside your top 30. And then a couple of drivers who I believe did not make it to the end of the race, which is Eriksson, Nordgren and Wildeboer as well. But we'll go back to the track as we bring in Oscar Fredriksson there. And Oscar, the 112 machine, you weren't sitting in the nicest of positions coming into turn 3 there, but then all of the carnage happened ahead of you. And look at this replay as well. You are so close to being taken out. How was your heart rate through turn 3 and 4 there?
Oh, that was such a roller coaster of the final few laps. Had such a good grasp of the lead there with Jesper up front, and then the car in front lied back a bit, and I ended up with damage and that huge wreck at the end. And then as soon as we came to the green on the final caution there, I noticed my car was very damaged. I had no pace at all, so just tried to follow wherever I could, and then got lucky in the end where the gap opened up. So very happy.
Yeah, perfect. And just how did you find this race? Because we had a long green flag run. You seemed to find your teammates, Sim Race Sweden, on the track. You had a big train going. Just how was it, so from the driver's perspective, just having to bump draft for such a long time?
Yeah, it was tricky to manage. These cars are very sensitive on the temperature, so you have to be really careful when you're pushing to not overheat the car too quickly. And also coming to that pit stop, I rammed Jesper a bit in the rear, so he was managing some damage, and we were trying to figure out how do we push this, how do we lead the race with a damaged car up front, and what's the pace like. So it was a hectic one, let's say, after the pit stop with that long green run, but we worked well together, and I'm happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, perfect. And in that middle part of the race, but actually towards the end as well, you had Erik Lundberg in the 18 car leading the way. Was that sort of tactics as such for some fuel saving? Because from what it sounds like, you and Jesper were very tight on fuel at the end.
Yeah, we're kind of working a bit with Lundberg there, letting him lead, especially since he had a fully working car. Jesper had some damage on the back end, so letting Jesper push was probably going to be the quicker option as well. And with the fuel being so tight at the end, turned out to be a good strategy. Just I think Lundberg had to pit for fuel, so it was good for us.
Stuff. It's working out to be a pretty solid season for you. Hopefully you can get a few nice results. There's your second podium of the season. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I can get a win and get myself in the playoffs on a win and not have to do it on points. But we'll see. Have 2 bad races so far, but this is good points for the team's championship. So
yeah, absolutely. Good luck for the rest of the season. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
And then next we'll bring in Michael Hagström here in the 61 machine, who managed to avoid that wreck at the end. And for team players Hagström Racing, 61, how are you feeling after that one? That was certainly a hectic end to the race.
Hi guys, well, I'm a bit surprised actually. It was a lucky shot there. I mean, they were kind of hard racing, I think, door to door, and I just thought I should go on the inside and just see what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you find the race in general? I mean, it's a very tough race around here. You really have to fight towards the end. How was it sort of being in the pack and really just trying to work your way forward with the slipstream?
No, I actually haven't no problem at all. I mean, it was a stable car, and I think it worked pretty good actually. Being in the pack, I mean, I lost the first pack there after an incident, so I had to work my way up, and I just waited for the caution to come out so I can try to get up again. So, but I think it worked pretty good actually.
Absolutely. And from 28th place in the championship, you're going to be jumping up quite a few positions. What do you think your prospects are for later on in this season? Do you think you can get more podiums and challenge towards the front? How are you feeling in this Xfinity car?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good actually. I mean, I think I'm the oldest guy around here on the track and on the league actually. I'm 62 years old, so that's a victory for me. I mean, so, but I mean, you never know. Indianapolis coming up, a track that I like with the Cup car, but this Xfinity car is not my favorite actually. But I mean, it's getting better and better, so hopefully I can get a top 5, top 10, maybe a podium place once again, but I don't know. We'll see what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly a great result for you, and hopefully we speak to you a bit later on in the season. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
All right, and that wraps round 4 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, and it's been a pretty hectic race here for the Import Speedfest 369 by Team Superior. And in the end, it was a sim race. Sweden 1-2. Jesper Eriksson and Oscar Fredriksson getting those important positions there at the end of the race. Huge wreck coming off 3 and 4. I'm sure the stewards are going to have a very fun evening trying to work out and digest all of that. And I'm sure some penalties will be along the way. But that is, of course, not over for the season. We come back oval racing in a couple of weeks' time. Homestead Miami, which was the final race of the season last time, with Michael Haflinsson taking the championship, but this time is round 5 of the season, and that is in 2 weeks' time, the 24th of October, 8 p.m. Central European time, as always. But of course, we go back to the road course series with the IndyCars next week as well. That is going to be an awful lot of fun. But from here in Talladega, it's been myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me, and Hugo Louise doing the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And until next time, enjoy these replays of 3-wide racing around the 2.66 miles here at Talladega.